Tonight, a dire outlook calls to conserve fuel as the global energy crisis is labelled the worst in history. While Iran pledges to retaliate if its power stations are attacked by the US and Israel. Also, how One Nation's South Australian success could reshape elections across the country. 2 killed and dozens injured after a plane and ground vehicle collide on a New York runway. And frozen in time, a large-scale tribute for the youngest winner of the race that stops a nation. This is ABC Late News. Hello, I'm Craig Smart. But first to breaking news, and US President Donald Trump has postponed his threat to bomb Iran's power plants and hinted a resolution to the war with Iran is near. In a post on Truth Social, the president said his administration has held very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Over the weekend, President Trump had threatened his military would bomb Iran's critical energy infrastructure early this week if Tehran failed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Now, in a post on Truth Social, he says Washington has had constructive talks with Tehran. Iran has not publicly commented yet. This comes as Israel intensifies its war efforts on multiple fronts.
Israel's fury raining down on Lebanon. The IDF ordering the destruction of all bridges over the Litani River to stop Iran's proxy Hezbollah from moving south to the border.
And in addition to this, to accelerate the destruction of Lebanese homes in the contact villages in order to thwart threats to Israeli communities.
As Israel fights Iran on 2 fronts, the Prime Minister made a rare wartime appearance after one of the worst attacks on Israeli soil so far.
If anyone needed an explanation of why Iran is the enemy of civilization, you got it in the last 48 hours.
At least 180 people were injured in strikes on the cities of Arad and Dimona, located close to Israel's secretive nuclear reactor.
It's scary. Children, old people, it's a catastrophe.
Aside from being a political stronghold for the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, this area is heavily protected because of the nearby nuclear facility. So news of the successful strike came as a surprise. By coming here, he's sending a message to residents it's safe to stay. Benjamin Netanyahu telling the ABC the facility is still secure.
Is the Dimona reactor safe?
Yes.
Israel hit back with a wave of strikes. The Red Crescent responding after a residential building in the country's northwest was destroyed. In Tehran, regime supporters mocked the US president's threat to obliterate Iran's power plants if it doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz.
Trump and Israel claim they've won the war 10 times a day. They still haven't accomplished anything.
If US threats regarding Iran's power plants are carried out, the Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed.
Donald Trump spent the weekend at his golf club, leaving his lieutenants to do the talking.
He's not going to allow this genocidal regime to hold the world's energy supplies or economies hostage.
The president's partner in this war saying it will only end once Israel and the US achieve their goals. Catherine Diss, ABC News, Dimona, Israel.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is negotiating with Australia's international fuel suppliers to shore up shipments as the Middle East conflict enters its 4th week. The International Energy Agency has warned this energy crisis is worse than previous oil shocks and has recommended countries start curbing demand.
Burnt-out tankers targeted by Iran, a smouldering symbol of what's being called the greatest energy crisis in global history. Worse than the twin 1970s oil shocks and Ukraine war combined.
This crisis, as things stand now, 2 oil crises and 1 gas crisis put all together,
As the clock ticks down on Donald Trump's deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, Iran remains defiant, threatening to retaliate if America strikes its power plants.
The situation is very severe.
The conflict now in its fourth week, the International Energy Agency is calling on countries to consider conserving fuel stocks by working from home, lowering highway speed limits, using public transport and cutting back on flights.
We will take graduated steps depending on what happens.
In Australia, the focus is on getting fuel to where it needs to be. From Queensland to South Australia, nearly 250 service stations are out of diesel. Those who can get it are paying dearly.
We use approximately 30,000 litres a month. It's $1 a litre dearer than what we paid 3 weeks ago.
Surging diesel costs hurting the transport sector too. Unions demanding government intervention to ensure drivers are compensated.
It's really urgent. Transport will grind to a halt unless we ensure that transport operators are properly funded.
While trying to manage the economic fallout, the Prime Minister's personally intervened to shore up Australia's fuel shipments. Today, signing a pact with Singapore to ensure petrol, diesel and jet fuel continues to flow. Anthony Albanese reminding key trading partners of Australia's status as a major gas exporter.
We are reliable partners when it comes to energy security, and we expect that to be a two-way flow.
With Qatar suspending LNG exports, Australia's gas giants are cashing in. Support growing in Parliament to tax their windfall profits.
Energy investors are like butterflies. When they are scared, they fly away.
The energy boss warning against further shocks to the sector. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
The oil supply shock from the war is spilling into every corner of the Australian economy. Transport companies are starting to introduce new fuel levies to cover the cost of delivering building materials, and firms supplying pipes for plumbing are warning of shortages and price hikes.
Brick by brick, home building costs are rising as war in the Middle East upends supply chains.
Bricks, flashings, concrete, anything that pretty much comes on a truck and needs to be freighted to site has gone up in price due to the fuel.
Bradley's suppliers are bringing in fuel surcharges of up to 10%.
We sort of have no choice. They have what we want, and if we're not willing to pay the increase, and then they just won't bring it to site.
Rationing the machines out a bit. Yeah.
This sand quarry that supplies building sites has brought in a fuel surcharge as it churns through 500 litres of diesel a day.
This current scenario feels a lot like COVID again. And we've got this sudden price increase, great deal of uncertainty on supply.
There are particular fears about materials that are made from petrochemicals.
There is a shortage of key materials that go into things such as our pipes that is having a significant impact for plumbers and for other plastic type materials.
With prices rising and home construction times under threat, there are now fears that this situation could make the federal government's home building targets even more unachievable.
Master Builders Australia is increasingly concerned about our capacity to deliver 1.2 million homes over 5 years.
That was always an aspirational target.
As well as delays, there are risks for inflation as the Reserve Bank is already hiking rates.
Ultimately, the builders are going to have to allow for these increases, which unfortunately gets passed down to the clients.
All of this during an existing housing crisis. Amelia Terzon, ABC News.
New York's LaGuardia Airport has been shut down after an Air Canada Express plane collided with a fire truck on the tarmac, killing both pilots. The plane, inbound from Montreal, hit the truck while landing in bad weather, causing severe damage to the nose and cockpit of the aircraft. US media is reporting dozens of people were injured, with the plane believed to be carrying 72 passengers and 4 crew. The airport has been shut, with planes being diverted to other airports or returned to their point of origin. The rise of One Nation has seen support translate into seats in Parliament for the first time in South Australia. It secured more first preference votes than the Liberal opposition and has Conservatives across the country scrambling.
South Australia has never been a stronghold for One Nation, but on the weekend that changed. Voters turned to the party, most for the first time ever.
I voted Labor every state election leading up to it, but this time I voted for One Nation.
The young ones can't buy houses now. They're flooding Australia with immigrants. I'm not racist, I don't have a problem with it, but I just have a problem with the numbers.
The regional seat of Hammond is one of many across South Australia where voters threw their support behind One Nation in record numbers. Its population centre is here in Murray Bridge, where in many polling booths they came first on primary votes. One Nation has secured one seat but could win 3 more. It's been described as an orange tsunami, and the party's leader is riding it.
I'm excited. That's fantastic news, and it's great news for the people of South Australia.
Buoyed by its success, the party now has its eyes set on other contests. A May by-election in Susan Lee's former federal seat of Farrer will be the first test of One Nation's support in New South Wales.
They're a big force in Australian politics, and we expect them to be here in New South Wales. However, we're up for the challenge.
Victorians will go to the polls in November, but party luminaries have brushed off the One Nation threat.
I'm not concerned because I think the Liberal Party decimated its own vote, given what has been happening in South Australia.
Nationally, major parties are already on the attack.
Let's face it, One Nation, having been around for now 30 years, are yet to have ever delivered a budget. They haven't delivered a hospital, they haven't delivered a road.
The result in South Australia, the success of that party over there, is fuelled by your preferences. Correct. That you are delivering them votes and seats in South Australia.
A question of whether that success will continue into future elections. Bethany Alderson, ABC News.
The top-end town of Katherine has escaped the full wrath of ex-tropical cyclone Narelle, but authorities are now focused on a nearby community. Adelaide River is one of 4 NT waterways under emergency warnings after recording hundreds of millimetres of rain.
The people of Katherine breathing a collective sigh of relief.
2 weeks ago we had 24 hours notice if you're lucky. This new event we've had a week to prepare for it. And rightly so, it could have absolutely decimated our town.
Although ex-tropical cyclone Narelle has now passed, sandbags still line the streets, a sign the town's not in the clear just yet.
The call for what this was going to be was scary, and thankfully it didn't come to fruition, and we really just got lucky.
It moved a lot quicker than we were expecting, which is great news for the territory. So generally speaking, there is much less damage than what we were expecting due to those fast speeds.
Even so, the wild weather caused havoc across the territory's electricity network, with hundreds of customers left without power. Outages stretching from Darwin through to Arnhem Land and down to the big rivers. After preparing for major flooding, the Katherine Bridge now expected to hit only minor or moderate levels. At Adelaide River, around 200 millimetres fell, inundating 4 homes and forcing some to evacuate. Drinking water was cut off last night, and today a boil water alert announced for the town and nearby Bachelor. The deluge also closing roads, including parts of the Stewart Highway.
Let me be absolutely clear. If the road is closed, it is closed for a reason. Do not put your life and the life of emergency services at risk by driving into flooded roadways.
To the northwest, the extra rain could mean the Daly River remains submerged for weeks, pushing out an already lengthy wait for the residents to return home.
Right now, people from remote communities in evacuation centres don't have any agency over their life, and it echoes the days of our people from the stolen generations.
A sense of uncertainty lingers on. Courtney Barrett-Peters, ABC News, Darwin.
Violent attacks and threats against WA ambulance officers have increased sharply across the state. St John puts most of the incidents down to drugs and alcohol and is asking the community to support paramedics so they can get on with the job of helping people.
It was a moment of sheer terror for Kalgoorlie-Boulder ambulance officer Beck Thompson.
It was the most traumatic moment of my life. I have 3 young children at home, and I feared for my life.
A naked man alleged to have repeatedly headbutted and smashed the windscreen of the ambulance she was in. Months later, she's constantly on edge.
I guess I'm just left with that constant anxious feeling of something like that happening again.
St John says violence and aggression against its crews is happening every day. 442 incidents in 2025, up almost 12% on the previous year.
A patient in the middle of me caring for him stood up, tried to punch me and then chased me down the street.
35 ambulance officers were injured last year and a code black called more than 100 times.
Our code black is like our duress procedure where our team have to literally run and hide away from the patient that's posing a threat to them.
The violence and the aggression is so bad that ambulance crews have to check for escape routes when they arrive at a job. And sometimes they have to barricade themselves inside the ambulance.
That people would take the opportunity to take out their aggression on a paramedic is disgusting behaviour, and that's why we do everything we can to support St John's.
But St John wants the community to do their part.
We would ask that the bystanders and their friends that are calling for support are there and trying to help their friend not hurt our people.
And we shouldn't have to say it, but we need you to be on our side too. The violence, the aggression, the abuse, it needs to stop.
Ambulance officers can withdraw entirely or wait for police if their safety is threatened, even if it means patients can't be treated straight away. Nick Perpich, ABC News.
An arson attack in London that saw Jewish community ambulances set on fire is being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime. 4 ambulances exploded in flames while parked next to a synagogue in the city's northwest. Video verified by the ABC shows hooded men setting the cars on fire around 1:45 a.m. local time before running off. UK police say they believe the explosions were from gas canisters inside the vehicles. Police are looking for 3 suspects. No arrests have been made. Tasmania's troubled Liberty Bell Bay manganese smelter has been put into voluntary administration. The state and federal governments have pledged to work with the administrators as they look for a new owner.
Australia's only manganese smelter and a major Tasmanian employer slips further into crisis. White Oak, a major lender to Sanjeev Gupta's GFG Alliance, has put the Liberty Bell Bay smelter into voluntary administration. Administrators from Ernst & Young aim to restructure or sell the company and its assets.
Having Gupta out of the picture will allow a sale to happen much quicker, and that process, we already know there's interested parties.
The smelter employs more than 200 people and has been in care and maintenance mode since last May. GFG says the smelter has faced a challenging 20 months due to issues with its main ore supplier, a significant deterioration in market conditions and rising costs. Federal Industry Minister Tim Ayres says his current priority is now on ensuring workers and local suppliers receive appropriate support and assistance. The Tasmanian government is among those owed money. It loaned the smelter $20 million last year to buy ore, which hasn't been used.
Manganese is a critical mineral. It's a key part of Australia's sovereign steel manufacturing supply chain, and so it's an important national industrial asset.
This follows a long period of financial instability for Liberty Bell Bay. The corporate regulator ASIC recently filed with the New South Wales Supreme Court to wind up the business for failing to lodge financial statements. The Australian Workers' Union says this process is better.
A liquidation process, we would be concerned, could lead to the permanent closure of the site, whereas an administration process holds out the hope of a future.
A future that's still uncertain for hundreds of workers. Josh Duggan, ABC News.
2 teenagers have been charged after allegedly ransacking a home in Melbourne and taking off with a luxury car. Police say the car was eventually dumped, but not before being taken on a high-speed journey through the suburbs.
On the run and out of time, 3 boys make a dash, taking refuge under a trampoline in an effort to dodge police. This is where police say the suburban joyride began. The trio allegedly breaking into an Ashwood home, terrifying a couple who could only watch on via security camera vision from their bedroom.
Yeah, I don't have any weapon-like things in the bedroom. Always thinking about it, just let them leave quickly and call the police.
Police say they then stole the couple's car in the dead of night.
If you have a well-cameraed property and you have alarm and you have your dog and you still can stop someone else go into your property, I think that's the most terrible things.
Am I going to be next? That's my concern. What are the police doing?
Police Air Wing followed the car along the Monash Freeway, allegedly reaching speeds of up to 190 kilometres an hour, running into stop sticks, which claimed a wheel, and continuing along the Princes Highway until the car was dumped, with the alleged offenders making a run.
A 16-year-old and two 17-year-old boys, all from the Cardinia area, were arrested in Narre Warren. The 16-year-old was taken to hospital after being bitten by a police dog.
Air Wing vision capturing the moment the dog chased him down. The two 17-year-olds have been charged with home invasion and theft. One's also been accused of committing an indictable offence while on bail. Alexandra Alvaro, ABC News, Melbourne.
Sydney radio host Kyle Sandilands has launched legal action against the network that terminated his $100 million contract. Sandilands claims he was wrongfully sacked after an on-air argument with his co-host last month.
It's a showdown that was always heading for the courts. Kiss FM owner ARN has confirmed it's being sued by Kyle Sandilands over his sacking after an on-air argument with his co-host Jackie Henderson.
Be aware of what's really going on.
I am, Kyle. I totally am offended by you saying something like that.
Well, too bad if you are, because that's the reality of what we're dealing with here.
ARN says Sandilands' lawyers argue his termination was invalid on the basis they allege that there was no act of serious misconduct or breach of contract.
There he will argue, well, look, either implicitly or expressly, I'm here as a shock jock, so there's nothing shocking about what I did.
The Kyle and Jackie O show was due to run another 8 years, potentially exposing ARN to tens of millions of dollars. Some experts think unless there's an early settlement, the legal battle could be costly and lengthy.
I don't think it would be unreasonable to expect that it could take up to 2 years, but at the end of the day, I really don't think anyone's got the appetite to spend the time and money on this.
We haven't had many of these cases actually go to court, these high-profile entertainment type contracts and cases. So if we get a determination, that'll be significant.
ARN says it disputes the claims by Sandilands and will defend the legal proceedings. Gavin Coote, ABC News, Sydney.
Staff of the ABC will go on a 24-hour strike on Wednesday after they voted against a pay offer. It'll be the first time in 20 years ABC staff will walk off the job. 60% of employees who voted rejected a pay rise of 10% over 3 years. ABC Managing Director Hugh Mark says the offer is both sustainable and financially responsible. There will be disruption to programming, but the ABC plans to continue delivering some services. Essendon coach Brad Scott has taken the unusual approach of questioning his side's effort after yet another thumping. The Bombers haven't won a match in more than 300 days, and Scott didn't hold back in his scathing review.
Essendon are already limping, and it's only round 2.
The last 2 weeks, pretty crap to be honest, on the field. We still have to keep vibes up around the club for sure, so it's a long season, stuff can change.
But morale might be tough for defender Mason Redman, who's set for a stint on the sidelines after scans confirmed he suffered a meniscus tear.
Pretty sore.
Another big loss leaves the whole club in pain. 9 months since their last win, 21 years since their last finals victory, and a quarter of a century since their last premiership.
I'm never going to tell Essendon fans to be patient, because I reckon 25 years is long enough.
Brad Scott's patience has also run out.
I'm a coach who very rarely questions lack of effort, lack of fight, but there's no doubt we're demoralised. I can list off a dozen things that we've got to work on, but I'll be leaving out the other dozen.
You don't feel there might be like a lack of desire to defend from some players at times?
I think it's part of it, yeah. because it'd be ridiculous for me to say that's not the case.
The next 2 weeks will be critical for the Bombers. They face North Melbourne next week and then the red-hot Western Bulldogs, who'll be without Tom Liberatore, the midfielder becoming the 7th player to suffer a hamstring injury in the round, despite playing out Friday night's win against the Crows. At Collingwood, Bobby Hill is back in the fold, returning from personal leave and training for the first time since December. The forward was embraced by coaches and teammates, but will need to build his match fitness if he's to earn his spot in the side. Alexia Pesce, ABC News, Melbourne.
It's a story for the ages. The 15-year-old no-name jockey from the bush riding a rank outsider to Melbourne Cup glory. It happened 78 years ago. Now the story's been immortalised on Western Victoria's Silo Art Trail.
They say there were about 100,000 people at Flemington Racecourse to see this year's Melbourne Cup.
It's 1948 and a tired old chestnut gelding named Rimfire and its young apprentice jockey are duelling down Flemington's famed straight in the Melbourne Cup.
And many must have thought Thompson was going to bring Dark Man in front of Ray Neville, the 16-year-old apprentice riding Rimfire.
In fact, Ray Neville was still 15 years old when he raced into the record books in the Cup's first ever photo finish.
Victory went to the 66-1 chance Rimfire.
His riding career ended soon after, but in his hometown of Birchip, his story has been given a new life.
This has always been talked about in Birchip, the feat of young Ray Neville at that age.
Ray Neville took up carpentry and settled in Birchip, where he married his wife June and raised a family.
I'm one of his daughters, one of his many children. He had 8.
Rosie Neville has heard the story all her life. She says Ray didn't even know he was riding Rimfire until the morning of the Cup.
But the grin on his face just says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Look what I've done.
He passed away in 2008, but it was a local legend that caught the attention of artist Kyle Tawney.
Yeah, this is hugely significant to particularly Birchip.
I know Dad's probably up there thinking, oh, what's all the fuss about? But he would be absolutely stoked.
And he's now the newest edition of Victoria's ever-growing Silo Art Trail.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest I've ever done, yep.
It's amazing what a country kid can do.
A pint-sized hero, now larger than life. Tamara Clark, ABC News, Birchip.
Take a look around the country tomorrow. In Brisbane, a shower or two expected, a top of 29 for Sydney. The shower or two also, just 27. Canberra, partly cloudy and 26. For Melbourne, a shower or two developing, getting up to 29. For Hobart, some rain and a low top of 18. Adelaide, sunny and 31. For Perth, sunny and 30. Darwin, a shower or two, 31 degrees. It's ABC Late News. I'm Craig Smart.